This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
It is 10:06 on the East Coast. Charles Moscowitzville, up in Beantown. 7:06 in Las Vegas, Nevada, where Michael King hangs that shingle of his. And you are listening to Money Info, brought to you by Princeton Research. Don't forget that research report, very valuable every Sunday night, with the workings and writings of one Michael King and Charles Moskowitz. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Hey.
So what's going on in the lovely world of rough and tumble financials?
We're getting a big rally in the generals. You have Amazon and Google up big.
Yeah?
Leading the market.
So are we talking volatile here with a phenomenal, absolutely, as the president said, absolutely simply amazing growth of 1%?
And that's, if they say it's 1, that means it's only about 0.5%.
Hey, Gary, how are you?
I am well. Yourself?
We're doing okay. So what's going on in your lovely world of Connecticut? Do you still have corporations leaving the state by...
Yes, in fact, there was a story in the paper, and I don't know if this is happening in your states, because you're all in different states, and economically I think they're way better than Connecticut. One of the largest manufacturers has already left Connecticut, and that was General Electric. So They left, created a big problem, naturally, for the jobs that were lost. Now, Skogorsky Airport, or Skogorsky Helicopter Manufacturing,
what?
They're also threatening to leave.
Sikorsky?
So what the state is, So what the state is doing is, and now mind you, there's 8,000 jobs.
Right.
What the state is doing is giving them 220, or proposing to give them $220 million of tax credit. And if you look at it any other way, it's basically a payoff. And ultimately, historically, what these companies have done is they take the tax break for the 5 years, 6 years, and then they leave anyway, because this state is so highly taxed on every level that people just leave. So that's what's happening here. I don't think there's an easy solution, and no doubt it's taken many years to get into this spot that the state is in, but they're in a very difficult position.
Well, I'll tell you where Mike King is, and also in the state of Utah. It seems like there are a lot of Northern California companies that are heading east to either Nevada or Utah. So,
Bob Behringer.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, morning, guys.
Welcome aboard,
Bob.
Bob.
Is going to be on with Dr. Carl Schwartz at 10:20.
Okay.
And they're going to discuss how Skyline Medical is moving forward.
Very cool. Well, Bob, you can chime in on
also.
You can chime in on all of this stuff. We're just talking about the machinations of the day of this volatile stock market that it's going crazy. It really is. I just don't know where it's going, as a matter of fact. And the thing that was very interesting, we were talking yesterday about the Bank of Japan, that they're planning on their notes at 0%. I really want to invest in that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I mentioned it last week or not, but one company, and I don't remember who it was, McDonald's. I do remember who it was. McDonald's did a note in Germany, a 10-year note at 0.75%, a 10-year note.
Wow.
0.75%.
Really?
For 10 years. And the note was overbought, overbid, because Germany has, also an absurdly low rate, and the all of the funds and the sovereigns and the ECB flock to it, and all McDonald's is using it for is a stock buyback, because our 10-year Treasury sells in the neighborhood of 160, 170,
right.
maybe 159 today.
Right.
10-year note, yeah, and they're borrowing money for nothing. I mean, really nothing. And they're lapping it up because they've run out of sovereign debt, and now they're shifting to corporate debt. There's just nothing for them to buy with any kind of return.
But Charles, how can the central bank in Japan succeed? I mean, they've been artificially inflating that now for what, 3 decades?
I was just going to say, Greg, I mentioned it in the letter, I think, not this past weekend, but
yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. I remember reading it.
They haven't done anything right in 3 decades.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, their deflation across the board, not just in food, but their elder class.
Yes.
If you think our elder class is in poor shape vis-a-vis, anything that they ever had to use as income, CDs, bank deposits, everything that was seemingly the golden rule for how to survive your retirement. If you think that ours is bad, theirs is 3 times as bad. I mean, they've had no real income for those groups in forever. And, let's remember, their market in the 80s put ours to shame. I mean, while we were going from 1,000 to 5,000, they were going from 1,000 to 25,000.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I remember when you and Mike and Bill Chippis would all talk about, and this is like 7 or 8 years ago, that you guys would talk about the elder population in Russia and in Europe. And that, they were looking for younger workers in Europe. And, you just have to wonder, okay, that was maybe 10 years ago when you guys were talking about that. Yeah. And you think, wow, now look, it's a decade later, and they're in even worse trouble.
I mean, it's not like it's just their problem. I mean, let's remember that everybody worldwide, you up until the late 80s and 90s, you went to work for a company, you got free health care, you stayed with the company, you built up, seemingly really great benefits, and you retired with, essentially what was pension and profit sharing, not even a 401k. I mean, 401ks and IRAs didn't really come to the forefront until the late 70s and early 80s, and we had an entire generation of people who, worldwide, well, except maybe the French, worldwide, who, went to work for a company and were loyal and were taken care of.
Sure.
And that's non-existent. But those people, a lot of them, with today's health care, are still around, And, basically, if they can't make it on their savings, which most of them can't, unfortunately, they have to change their vocabulary to, would you like fries with that, or welcome to Walmart? I mean, it's really kind of disgraceful. But that's the way that it is.
Well, see, I'm practicing to be a Walmart greeter. I think I'm getting there.
Well, you have the voice for it, Greg.
Yeah. Oh,
So
my.
let me ask you something. Who won last night?
Who won last night?
Hillary, without a doubt. There's no question about it.
Okay, there's one Hillary vote. Let's hear it from the good state of Connecticut.
You know,
I'm a Trump supporter.
I
but
know
I
it.
have to say that he could have done certainly a better job. And
Yeah, the lack of knowledge.
Well, but his knowledge may not be, on every topic, but factually he's correct. She's been in office for 30 years, or in politics in some way for 30 years. So now all of a sudden she has these revelations on how to create jobs and how to do this and do that and do this. And I'm like, I've been around not as long as you, but I've been involved.
nobody's been around as long as Mike.
Well, but I go back probably 45 years with politics. I've been involved since I was 15. And Republican, Democrat, back and forth, independent. It's always the same, Mike. It's always a politician of either party saying that they're going to solve problems, but the problems don't really get solved. At least Trump is an outsider. Does he put his foot in his mouth? You bet. Does he say stupid things? Absolutely. But he does know how to create jobs, and I know for sure the last 40 years' worth of Republicans and Democrats that say they're going to do things, it just seems like it's getting worse. And he is absolutely right about ISIS and a dozen other things that he didn't bring up. So, no, I'm not going to vote for Hillary because I don't trust her.
I'm just
He
waiting.
may be a little bit, nutty with some of the things he says. I grant you that. But there's a difference between saying sometimes foolish things and still being honest versus being dishonest and just lying to people. So that's how I feel.
I'm just
And
waiting to
speaking about
see
foolish-
Saturday Night Live this week because it's going to be a classic, I'm sure. Oh,
No, it
man.
won't be. It'll be the same as it is every week. They'll make fun of who the Republican nominee is, whoever it is, and they'll support whoever the Democratic nominee is. That's how it goes every year or every 4 years.
Okay. Well, so we have
Is that
left.
you, Dr. Schwartz?
No, this is Richard Gabriel from GLG
okay.
Pharma.
So the only one who's not with us is the one who's going to lead us off. And
Okay, well, he'll be with us in a little bit.
Yep.
Richard is co-founder of GLC Pharma. And
No,
you're-
GLG.
Or GLG Pharma.
GLG.
And you're right down the road in
Yes.
Jupiter, right? Jupiter, Florida?
We are.
That's
we
right.
are. We are in Jupiter, Florida.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, our studio is about maybe 30 miles north of you. So, yeah,
Oh.
in Port St. Lucie. Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
welcome aboard. So, do you want to weigh in on this election thing? Any?
Absolutely not.
I know you were watching the Marlins and the Mets. I can tell. Yeah.
oh,
I
did
like
they play
the
again?
Boston-
Did they play last night?
Yes, they did. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Hey, listen. We got a Red Sox 11 in a row.
Oh, you're a
That's
Red
it.
Sox guy. Oh,
Absolutely.
really?
Carl's.
Up and now
Greg,
Carl's,
you know my
Carl's
favorite
with-
my favorite T-shirt, right? I root for anybody. I root for the Red Sox and anybody else who plays the Yankees.
Yeah, yes, I know. I've seen, Actually, when I was doing Dodger television, our producer would always wear a Red Sox hat in the truck. And he was a diehard Boston Red Sox fan. It's amazing.
Okay, so it sounds like Dr. Schwartz is with us.
Yep. Go ahead,
there,
Charles.
Carl?
Take it away.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning,
Okay, so
Doctor.
Carl is going to give us an update. All of the issues that we discussed when we originally introduced the company have been resolved in favor of management. And so Carl's going to give us an update and introduce Bob and Richard, and we can talk about where the company is going now. So why don't you take it over, Carl?
Thank you. Good morning. As Mr. Moskowitz stated, my name is Dr. Carl Schwartz, and I'm the interim CEO of Skyline Medical. I'm very happy to be here with our new partners, Bob Bellinger, CEO of Electronics On-Ramp, and Richard Gabriel, co-founder of and Chief Operating Officer of GLG Pharma. In the case of Electronic On-Ramp, Skyline will have access to substantial federal, state, local contracts budgeted for health and life safety systems, support, humanitarian assistance, disaster preparedness, especially in the mobile operating rooms where we are. The Streamway system is a perfect fit. In the case of GLG Pharma, our partnership provides Skyline access to an exciting new technology that will allow clinicians both in the operating rooms and the interventional radiology suites to perform rapid diagnostic tests utilizing GLG's point-of-care testing devices to gather and evaluate material routinely collected in the Streamway's already existing tissue trap. Skyline is also the exclusive reseller of GLG's testing devices. I believe this combination of GLG and EOR and Skyline will make for a powerful team. And with that, I'd like to have the audience hear from our new partners, Richard and Robert. So there you are. That's the beginning.
Go ahead, Richard.
Bob, you want to go? You want to go first?
Okay, Bob
You're right
Behringer.
ahead.
Bob Behringer.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited to be here on the show with all of you. I've been very excited with the new team that's been coming together. EOR's been involved in government contracting for over 12 years now. We have access to $63 billion in contracts and the opportunity to be able to supply to any government agency around the world. So the contracts are in place. There's definitely a demand. And the solution that Skyline has, not only was it good before, but this new rapid diagnostic capability is really offers the opportunity to revolutionize healthcare in the way that it is. And I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but I do want to say that we've got a great company with Skyline. Now we have great contract vehicles, and we have great access to people with money. And I think it's going to be great for all the shareholders. So I'm excited about that, and I'm going to be quiet enough just so that we make sure that everybody gets their chance to tell about their wonderful dimensions of what's going on here.
Okay, Richard, go ahead.
Great. Well, we were very excited about this opportunity, and it's a pleasure working with both Carl and Bob and the rest of the team at Skyline Medical. So we originally approached this from the view of oncology, and in oncology, once we identified, and Dr. Paul Sweetman helped us do this. He's now been appointed to the scientific advisory board for Skyline Medical, but he's identified that in the human ascites fluids, which Skyline has the ability to trap, capture, divert, and we have the ability to create new diagnostic tests. Our STAT3 is present in the case of oncology patients, and we think that focusing in on those particular diagnostics for those patients, as Carl so eloquently pointed out, in the existing space where the product works really well, I think is an opportunity that will create a lot of value for Skyline, for GLG, and for electronic on-ramp. So I'm very excited about this opportunity.
Charles, any questions?
I just have one that just occurred to me. The trap, when you get a sample out of that trap, that's in between the actual the patient and the unit. Is there any risk at all in between there relative to the fact that you're really talking about an untreated? I'm assuming that it's an untreated sample, or it probably wouldn't do you any good. Correct?
Correct.
Are you speaking to me or to Carl?
Well, I'm talking about the trap in general. When you take a sample out of the trap, does that sample has been unadulterated? And so is there any risk to taking that out of there before the actual fluids have been, removed to unit itself.
No, the tissue
For
trap
disposal
is in the unit.
is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, disposal, because the tissue trap is in it's in the unit. In the
Okay.
Unit.
Got it.
Right. So as I understand it, we would not be taking any untreated samples out of a unit. The beauty of the system is that it goes from the patient to the system. It's tested. The results are digitally provided back to the doctor in real time, and then the rest of them are sanitized and they go right out to the drain. Yes, so it's an amazing.
There is no removal. It's actually a process within the system. Oh, okay.
Absolutely, yeah. And in the case of oncology, you're looking at, hey, we have an opportunity here to be able to test a person that is going through a surgery, and then being able to tell in real time if that we got all the cancer out. And you can sew them back up, and then they can go back into recovery, and they can go on about their life without the fear or the concerns that their life may be, maybe they didn't get it all. That's a question that really I think a lot of people can relate to. If I go into surgery, did they do it right, and did they get it all? And am I going to be okay going forward? And this is the first system in the world that can give people that peace of mind. So you wind up not only with a better surgery, you wind up with less risk to the doctors. The doctor's going to love this stuff, and then the patients are going to say, I want to go to a place where I know they got it all, and I can put this behind me. So we're in a really cool space right now where the three of these organizations that are coming together really going to change the world. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's a gigantic step forward, obviously.
Dr. Carl, if you can, I know you've been on before, and obviously this is a first for Bob and Richard. But tell us a little bit about the device that you have been talking about. Kind of bring everybody up to speed, because we have new listeners checking in every week.
Well, this is the only FDA-approved device that it's used in the operating room or in the interventional radiology suite. Basically, it's a wall-mounted unit that draws the fluid from the operating table and weighs it. It calculates the fluid that it's moving through it, and then it disposes of it in the drain. As I said, it's wall-mounted, so there's no handling on the part of the staff. It's automatic. It does its job. All you have to do at the end is change the filters and run a cleaning solution through, and it's ready for the next operation with a very little downtime. Other products that are out there, the fluid is collected in canisters or in jars and put on a cart and carted out of the room, taken down the hall. Sometimes a gelling agent is added, and then it's taken to the landfill and disposed of. And in this case, and it's handled by staff, so there's always risk of a spill, a dangerous amount of material on the floor. So ours, we don't have those issues. So it works beautifully, and it doesn't take up any room in the operating room because the floor space there is very valuable. So it's compact, and we've added another adjunct to our machine, and we also have a vacuum unit because in some of the older hospitals, the systems are antiquated, as you might guess, and probably somewhat clogged. So the vacuum systems can be weak. So we have an adjunct to ours to add vacuum so that we can make up for any lack of vacuum that may be there in the hospital. And we're also working on it. It's not there yet. We have ways to go. We were looking to try and clean the material before we put it in the drain. Not sterilize it, just clean it up so as little infectious materials that go into the drain are present anymore. So we're working on that aspect too to make our machine, along with GLG, to make our machine a man for all seasons. We're pretty excited. We think we've hit the soft spot, and we think we're going to go a long way with this machine.
And how much power do they require?
They don't require just normal, electrical power from the outlet.
Yeah, no. I was just thinking about, the mobility of the unit. When you say that there are, applications in, mobile hospitals or disaster relief or, any of that, I'm just wondering, how mobile they can be, or whether
they are very mobile.
They're very mobile. So a generator?
Yeah, just a generator, regular power.
Okay.
It'll work like a champ.
And do you think that that's going to be a pretty big area for you? I mean, I just think about it from the standpoint of, not to pass judgment as to what the cause is, but there does seem to be an awful lot of, global warming, and flood areas, and I just think about it from those terms. If people from FEMA and government work in general, hopefully we're not talking about too many more MASH hospitals in the future. But that is obviously an area that could be helpful as long as there's power.
Well, sure, and so that's actually kind of EOR's primary bread and butter, right? So we're around the world, especially in the Western Hemisphere, setting up emergency operation centers. And here domestically, we work with FEMA, Region 3, 5, and 7. So we've been supporting FEMA now for over a decade. And when it comes to medical triage, working a lot, it's actually really cool. The last radio show we were on, there was some folks from the Special Operations Command that had dialed in. They were actually forward deployed, dialing in, saying they couldn't wait to utilize not only the existing technology but the next versions in a better way. And so, imagine, if you will, that you're actually in Africa and you want to know if a patient comes in and they're already injured and they're exposed with open wounds, if in real time that they have Ebola, or if they have Zika, or they have some other kind of thing that you might not know. And this is the first system that you can actually go and work on the patient right away, and then you can find out if there's any problems. And if necessary, that you can immediately quarantine. That's a capability we never had before, right? So Skyline is really leading the way in making this stuff happen. So, in my mind, there is an AC version that, that plugs right into the wall. There's a DC version that we put in a backpack that supports triage, and that in the work that EOR is doing down in Grenada and Argentina and all over, this kind of Central American region, we're supporting these same types of activities. So if you look at the work that was done in Haiti, where we're, pulling people out from rubble, or we're looking at, the immediate triage, we're going to be able to take that Skyline system and actually the 18 Deltas that are out there, the Special Forces medics, the rest of the folks that would say, hey, I'd like to go volunteer and to be able to help change the world, right? There's a lot of people that have very minimal medical treatment. Well, this is the system. And I'm not sure if it was very clear, but when they were talking a little bit ago about the current way that things are done, in surgery and any other way, they're putting fluids in essentially open containers and wheeling them around. Right. In the past, nurses and doctors and all kinds of people that have been exposed to little splashes of HIV. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be splashed with HIV. It's not my favorite thing in the world, right? So this is the system that actually makes sure that nobody gets splashed with stuff they don't want to be splashed with. And it's perfect, right? And so they were talking a little bit before, and we've got to be careful about forward-looking statements, but the sanitization capability, this is the system that someone would want to invest in, right, that someone would want to be a part of, because it's one of the few systems in the world that has the real capability to prevent, biological entities and organisms from getting into the water supply. And so I don't know if you guys are tracking this, but down in Houston, one of the things that's in the water, the two most common things that are down there, it's Tylenol, and then it's also birth control. So there's a lot of biomedical waste and other types of contaminants in the water supply that the current water supplies aren't getting rid of. Well, Skyline is the first, stop it at the source. This is the system. And so I'm really excited about the testing, the way in which each of these different components come together. And there is a need, there is a demand, and clearly there is a solution.
Bob, you had mentioned a little bit earlier about different FEMA divisions.
Yes.
Do you have
regions.
Do you have to negotiate with each region separately?
Well, so in the government contracting space, every single contracting officer you have to negotiate with individually. One of the things that we do to streamline this process. Now, if you were to go, and this is where EOR creates a force multiplier, basically bringing Skyline to market 18 months faster than they would normally be. So if you went in and you talked to a contracting officer for the government, this is a person with signatory authority and a budget from Congress that says they can spend money to help people, right? That's the goal of it. If you did this on your own, it typically takes about 370 days. and these are the General Service Administration's numbers, not mine, right? I mean, there's somewhere in there 364, 371, right in that neighborhood is where the government says that's how long it takes to make a sale. Well, that's a long time. And so what's cool about using a GSA schedule, a pre-negotiated contract with GSA, is that you could actually make a large sale in minutes. It's amazing. And so we have these GSA contracts in place that are pre-negotiated that actually make it easier for contracting officers to distribute money to us and for us to be able to share that with Skyline and with its shareholders. So we're really moving, something that takes over a year. And in order to get one of these GSA schedules, I mean, sometimes you can get them in months, but normally, it's about an 18-month process to pre-negotiate rates with the government. And so EOR's done all that work. We've been in this space for over a decade. And there are different vehicles. Typically, if you have, a government-wide agency contract vehicle, a GWAC. You can have an agency-wide contract, which would be like an IDIQ, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract with just FEMA. Typically, if FEMA issues a contract, it's going to be FEMA-wide. So you typically wouldn't say just for a region, but you would, and this is what's different. So each of FEMA's regions are broken down into like communications or into other types of things. So it's kind of their specialty, if you will. So if a region was going to go through an issue contract, it might be limited to only communications. And in that way, you would definitely be negotiating with each of the different regions. And in that, it's just a lot of complications, a lot of bureaucracy. It's a lot of things that we hope maybe you guys are talking about politics, or maybe these next folks, they'll fix it. They'll streamline it. They'll make it smarter, maybe more business-like. But, as we move forward with the current system, EOR has multiple agency contracts. We have agency contracts, and we have government-wide acquisition contract vehicles. And then with all of the cool people that we want to support. So with that said, I'm excited about being able to say, here's the customer demand, here's the contract vehicle, here's the pre-negotiated rates, and then here's this really cool system that's going to help people immediately. I like the karma that's associated with that.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. But now, does this say, because you say, okay, I've got all these regions of FEMA, does this give you any more clout with, say, the Air Force or the Army or the Marines and Navy?
So the answer is that it depends. That's the first thing. But let's just talk about those other customer sets, right? So EOR today supplies life safety equipment to the Navy, to the Marine Corps. We have cybersecurity folks that are out there around the world, and we're actually supplying to Southern Command as a prime contractor for humanitarian assistance purposes and for disaster preparedness. So we're actually building emergency operation centers with multiple generators and multiple hospital triage units. And what's really cool, I've actually got 6 of the neatest little mini ambulance, they're Polaris 6x6 ATVs that we're shipping down to Argentina right now. And so you can literally drive into the forest, in the jungle, and you can help people in this little mini 6x6 ambulance that's a UTV. So we're being creative with Southern Command and also with the folks in Argentina to be able to take systems out there to be able to help people where they're actually injured. And what's really cool about this is that the Skyline system fits perfectly on one of these 6x6s. So now you can take a system out where people would be bleeding or bloody, and you can actually run tests on them where they're at without even moving them. And so I'm really excited about that. And that's where, the over 12 years, EOR has all of the vehicles to be able to sell to anyone in the government right now. So whether it's clout, I would say that the term for clout is past performance in the government. So we have past and present performance that provides the government with the confidence that they would want to, that they need in order to be able to share taxpayer money with an organization. So the clout, if you will, is we have pre-negotiated contracts. We believe in Skyline. The tests have been developed, prove that it works, and it fits the use case for these contracting officers and for the practitioners. So I'm really excited about the demand that's being driven from the operating room itself and our ability to make these systems take them in a portable way. You literally fit a Skyline system in a backpack right now. So this is completely a game changer. So I'm really excited about it. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. And, you think about, especially, you mentioned South America, with the earthquakes and the natural disasters that we've seen recently. This sounds like this would be amazing. Oh,
it is. It's absolutely amazing. That's the right word to describe it, and I'm excited that you get it. That's really cool.
Wow, this is something. Mike, any questions for Dr. Carl or Richard or Bob?
Well, we have a huge chain between Bakersfield and Las Vegas called Dignity Health. Have you introduced it to them? Dignity. They have a lot of hospitals, and they're very prominent.
Well, feel free to go through and provide that contact information over. We'll look it up after we get out. The thing that's actually really cool is that when we finish this conversation, myself and their vice president of sales at Skyline are going to be having that conversation. So there's some neat things that we're going to be able to do about, making EOR's line of credit available and EOR's staff. And we've got some really neat salespeople that are in place that are going to help bring this unit to market and the complete solution. So I'm looking forward to booking sales, delivering systems, and then, sharing the wealth between all of us, on this call and also with the rest of the shareholders.
And also, Gary has a couple of groups in the Western Connecticut area. But
awesome.
I want to go back to something that we discussed last time Carl was on, and that is that all of these things that we're talking about here, compared to the size of the company and the size of the joint venture that this is, really make a monumental change to this company from the investment side. I'm just speaking in theory now because we don't have any real numbers that we would want to or are able to discuss. But we're still talking about, a company that probably has a market cap of in the neighborhood of about, let's see, $15 million? Less than that. $15 million. So, the opportunity here for investors to see growth in a company like this, just based on what the real numbers would look like if we start selling these through these resellers. And I don't mean to make, I don't mean to downplay the value of these relationships in these joint ventures. But it's pretty monumental, the effect. We're not talking about Merck or on the pharma side or on the EOR side, a small company. We're talking about big companies being involved with smaller companies. The growth here can really be monumental on a $15 million market cap company. And so even if there is some dilution through the change in the authorized that we just went through in this proxy that was finally settled 10 days ago, the return to the shareholders in this type of deal can really be significant. And when I say significant, I mean not necessarily arithmetic. I have no problem with people who like to trade the stock, and there are certainly days where, over a period of a week or 10 days, or in some cases a shorter time frame than that, where the almost entire market cap of the company has been traded. But, I don't mind people who come in and bid, 17.4 cents and sell it at 18.6 cents and make a little profit. Actually, I kind of like that because that continues to maintain a certain degree of liquidity in the stock. Also, on smaller stocks like this, you very often see a little bit of a wider spread. I mean, I look at stocks all the time that are, 16.2 bid offered at 17.4. This stock is 17.4 offered at 17.52, which is really infinitesimal. So there's liquidity in the stock, but this is a company that could easily be positioned as a $17 stock that, should these things start to really percolate, should these sales really start to materialize, you're talking about a stock that could move substantially higher. And so, I think investors have to have kind of the long view here, as the companies have the long view. And a lot of times that kind of gets lost in translation when, you get some of the people on CNBC or Fox Business or Bloomberg talking in terms that are, people really have minute little windows of opportunity. I laugh every time that I see, oh, well, we haven't had a day like this since last Thursday. Or, they have megabyte size, they're just dealing in such small windows that, you kind of lose the forest looking at the trees. And so, I think that once you have a little longer view, you really see the opportunity that is here in this joint venture.
Yeah, I agree, Charles. It's really amazing. We've got, maybe about 10 minutes left. Richard, if you could just tell us a little bit about your co-founder and COO at GLG Pharma down in Jupiter, Florida. Tell us a little bit about your company, and then Bob will, as the other member of this new troika, we'll have you talk about EOR in a little bit. Richard,
Very good.
Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you very much. Well, GLG was founded in 2009, just at the beginning of the financial crisis. I can't say that the three founders, which is Dr. Hector Gomez, Dr. Michael Lovell, and Richard Gabriel, that's where the GLG comes from, were the brightest guys in starting at that time. But we had identified as a team, actually we were invited by Dr. Bill Dalton, who was the head of the Moffitt Cancer Center at that time, to look at some technologies around STAT3 inhibitors. And what we realized is that many people in the industry hadn't really seriously looked at STAT3, except for the National Cancer Institute. So the NCI has been sponsoring work in the area of STAT3 and proliferative diseases, in particular cancers that are terminal, that have very high death rates, and we can just go through the list. We all know what they are. A diagnosis for triple-negative breast cancer for women is certainly a serious one. So we focused on that, triple-negative breast cancer. We're being sponsored by the NCI. Investors in Skyline that are interested in GLG can find us at the Prevent Cancer program, where GLG 302 is listed. It is to replace tamoxifen and raloxifene. The NCI has a long history of getting drugs approved. This is a very long-term study that they're funding. They'll spend about $80 million in getting this as a long-term therapy for women that have been diagnosed with resistant HER2 as well as TNBC. And the drug works. It's very safe, at least in the animals right now. So the next step is to go to clinic. Last year, in 2015, we won a triple-negative breast cancer grant from the EU that is sponsored into Poland. That was $3.6 million. 2.7 of it comes back to the company in the form of remuneration for monies that are spent in triple-negative breast cancer. We also have, and what started us down the path with Skyline was we realized that a lot of the patients that Skyline is treating, at least in the oncology area, may come in for some other disease. They may come in for diabetes or effects of, heart attack or embolisms or a number of things. And we could quickly diagnose these patients for oncology, both from the cell types that are isolated as well as from the ascites fluids. The other thing that Bob and I had been talking about is, and which I think is probably another thing that the military would be extremely interested in and that GLG is interested in as well, is identifying what we would call infectious diseases. And this is extremely important in the field in low-resource environments, whether it's a hurricane or a war, is being able to identify those patients from the fluids, from the surgeries that may be infected with something that is highly contagious, and being able to identify that quickly and minimize exposure to the operating staff. So those are the two areas that that we're currently focused on. But we started at this with we actually want to develop methods to harvest the cells, to clone them up into additional assays. We're looking at all aspects of both the fluid as well as the cell capture. And I think this is I haven't seen a system like this. I was actually invited by David Weinstein to take a look at Skyline, and I thought about it, and we sort of put it into our hopper of, have we thought about this? I mean, have we really thought about what a benefit this could be to the patients? And that's when we came up with our strategy. So GLG is, we're about a 8-person company. We're all senior individuals. Dr. Bob Ballas, who used to be the head of Dade Barron Diagnostics, has about 110, 120 diagnostics in the market as part of our team. Hector Gomez, Mike Lovell is a pharmacist. I'm a scale-up chemist, and the chief operating officer. So I do all the grunt work, basically. But that's GLG.
So, Richard,
I should say we have drugs from the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute as well in the repurposed drug area. So we're aggressively pursuing oncology treatment.
You have dropped a couple of major names when it comes to cancer, and that's Moffitt and Dana-Farber.
Yeah, we've been working with them for quite a long time.
Well, that's
and
amazing.
Of course the NCI. Let's not forget the NCI.
Sure.
I was an NCI contractor for 10 years for AIDS, and also worked with Tony Fauci's group at NIAID on secondary infections to AIDS. We had support from two NCDDGs, which are National Cooperative Drug Development Grants, in which we were the partner. So I'm very familiar with the infectious disease area. And I'm also familiar with the cancer area because we also had the oncology cancer contract from the NCI.
Wow. Okay, Bob, we have about 4 minutes to tell us a little bit about EOR.
Well, EOR has primarily been a defense contractor, and we've been upscaling from kinetic warfare to really beginning to help people. So we moved more into FEMA and NIH. We recently were added to a $50 million contract with NIH that allows for us to directly sell Skyline and GLG solutions to anyone in the government around the world as a life safety system. So I'm very excited about the work that we're doing with NIH. As I mentioned before, the Southcom and Northcom contract for providing humanitarian assistance, disaster preparedness, all of these types of things. And the new work that we're supporting now, we had earned and won a $450 million contract with the Special Operations Command this last year. I'm really excited about that. There's a lot of work that's being released on that contract right now, and there's a lot of opportunity for us to be able to support the forward deployed Green Berets and the other Special Forces folks, the SEALs, the MARSOC folks from the Marines, and the rest of the folks from AFSOC that are out there. So I'm very excited. The people that we get to work with right now, they're really the best of the best. And quite honestly, I'm excited with Skyline's technology to really just support people with a good heart. There's a lot of people out there that want to help make the world a better place. And Skyline offers an opportunity, along with GLG's testings, to help protect the people that intend to do well in this world. And so here we are protecting the good guys around the world. And I'm very, very happy about that. I'm also happy that, for the first time ever, we can take a GLG solution, put it in a delivery system, and help people in real time, and that we don't have to get, encumbered or bogged down with, the paperwork to process, right? The delay to put this in the hands of people who need it. So we can immediately help people, and in the technology and the systems there, do that, right? There's not a modification, a long thing that we need to do to consistently upgrade the Skyline system. So I think, in hospitals and medics and corpsmen and, folks in ambulances, the ambulance is like a mobile alarm. Folks need to be protected. You see one of these systems in every single ambulance around the world. And that's a pretty big market. So when we talk about the investors and the shareholders and people who want to hold on to this, if I were an investor, and I am, I would think about, hey, let me be one of the guys to invest now, and then also to see this system go into every single ambulance around the world. And so there's some really neat things that are happening between all of us. EOR's got a lot of past performance in, setting up, laser beams and LiDAR systems and other types of capabilities. Some of the new sensors that we're working on, again, forward-looking stuff, but we're privately held, so I think the rules apply a little bit differently. But laser interferometers and the ability to not have to cut into people to find out what's going on. So you start looking at a complete suite and complement of capabilities that EOR brings, in the medical and the life safety support arena. And we provide current support in teaching people how to be more humane, how to love people, how to be able to help people, how to be able to do that and to do it better. So I like the focus of where EOR is going as an organization. I like the idea of people helping people, and definitely getting these systems from Skyline and the assays from GLG into the hands of the good people around the world so that they can keep making the world a better place. So here we've got a really good karma opportunity for everybody to benefit, to win, and to do good and do well at the same time. I'm very excited about all of these pieces that really kind of come together to make that perfect kind of Lego piece, if you will. So I'm excited, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have and to further describe our capabilities, our backgrounds, and where we're shifting from, essentially that computer hacking and cybersecurity space to biohacking and really helping people live more abundant and fulfilled lives.
I think you guys are going to have to come back for maybe 2 or 3 other shows just to talk about that.
Sure.
One final question, Dr. Carl. When are we looking at the first diagnostic tests? When are you looking at the launch there?
I think that'll be, when Richard and I talked, probably toward the end of the year, I would think we'd be looking at the first ones that should be out. Is that right, Richard? Along in there?
Yeah, we've got some ideas we're focusing in on, and I think our first plan is, get the team together, do the planning, pick some targets and a prototype, and then move forward. We'll do it as quickly as possible within a CLIA environment.
Well, I'll tell you, what an informative hour, and seriously, we'll have to get all 3 of you back. Mike and Charles, an amazing get as always. Skyline Medical and GLG Pharma, and getting together with EOR for, a real-time scan. That's absolutely amazing. And obviously, just keep listening here to Money Info or read that newsletter from Princeton Research. A lot more coming your way from Skyline Medical, GLG, and EOR. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, WPSL TV on YouTube.